Cloud. Oh, welcome all you for our January Northeast Technical Zoom call. Hope you all had a nice, happy holiday, and looking forward to the new year. We're kicking off here. Just I think we've mentioned in the past, but we're following a similar pattern around Canada and the U.S. with these events. So there's one in the Mid America group. I see Dave Roberts is on. He's part of the Mid America group. So hi to see you, Dave. And then we've got one in the plains, which all the way from Texas all the way up to
I've got
Manitoba.
this on here. Is that okay?
Hey, James, new iPad. If you're not speaking, put your phone on mute if you wouldn't mind.
Beg your
Um,
pardon.
I'll put you on mute. Well, thank you. So then, if then we're gonna have one starting in the West Coast later this month, and then the Southeast is planning to have one as well. So all 40 of the Austin Healy Club of America's regions will have these regional technical Zoom calls around the country. So we're basically adopting what we've been doing here in the Northeast now for the past 8 years and doing it around the country in 2026. So hopefully we'll find it to be very effective in other areas around the country as well as it has been here. So
Peter,
thank you all for, yes, Roger?
one thing, will be one meeting for sprites, right?
Quite possibly, yes. Yep. So Jeff Parada, who's one of our Sprite experts, planning on doing one for Sprite, Roger. You're correct. Yep. That's not confirmed on the dates and times for that yet, but that is the plan. So so I have gotten a couple questions in advance. I do see. So Dave Jameson is on the call. He's going to also he's getting very technical on us. So he's got two devices operating at the same time. He's going to show us his BJ8. You may recall last month in December, he was having some issues with the performance of his BJ8, and he's going to give us an update as it relates to where it is. He's get his car back together and running again. And we'll turn it over to Dave Jameson from Ontario.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, this is going to be kind of cute because I'm looking at my face in one screen, and yet with this other device here, I'm looking at, of course, what I wanted to show you. What it was is that my car, when I walked behind it back last year, and I just happened to reach down and put my hand around the tailpipe sections. One was a gentle puff, 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 very nice. The other one was something out of I don't know what, The Exorcist. There was a puff and a suck and a suck and a puff, and I don't know what it really wanted to do. So I started to look at it and said, okay, it's coming from the left pipe, which means it's coming from the left exhaust system, we'll call it. You go to the engine, and of course, it is the front three cylinders that exhaust on that side. So we followed it through and said, okay, we figured what was happening is that simply what was happening was that the engine, for whatever reason, was sucking while puffing out of the front. So we assumed it was valves. So for the sheer fun of it, we took all of this off and took the head, sent it into TVC in Kingston, Ontario to have it redone. Well, they checked, the guides were good. Definitely there was leakage in the exhaust valves, so they fixed that up. They reground them, flat, do the decking it, the whole friggin' shot-a-roo. So now the head went back on the vehicle and everything else, got hooked up. What is most entertaining is that on the intake on this side at the very back, you have to somehow get in there and put a washer with a brass nut. Well, after 4 hours of exhausting, and I mean exhausting work, Pam came out and said, "What are you screaming and yelling about?" And it was concluded my fingers are too short and too fat. So Pam said, "You want me to give it a try?" 4 minutes later, it was on and done, and I was taking her to a local store for shopping. I was also kissing her somewhere, but anyways, enough of that. So what I thought I would do is that we'll just do a quick little thing here. turn this back to here. Okay, we're gonna open this door.
Hopefully the car's gonna start, Dave.
Oh, it will. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's starting like a dream. I mean, it fired right up and, everything was, I guess, Pete, you went to church for me. I don't know, but it worked like a dream.
I prayed for you, Dave. Yep.
Well, it worked. It worked. It fired right up. Everything was good. So here we have. Okay, now for the oh, by the way, we did a compression test, and I don't know if you can see these numbers, but 153.5, 154, 160, 164, 157, 163. So well within an engine. We found out the engine had been rebuilt sometime with 30 thou oversize. And everything was, went together perfectly as it should. So now what we're going to do here is demonstrate the issue. So we've tried everything. We know I've done the valves, set them at 12.012. I did them cold. I ran the thing till it was piping hot. Scalding myself, I took everything apart and rechecked my valves 0.012. Some needed a little tweaking, but nothing severe. So they're at 0.012 hot. So what I'm going to do is reach in here, do that, do this, do that. As you can see, I'm sitting at, what are we looking at? We're looking at maybe 6.5 on the, we have oil pressure of 40 something, whatever. So now, here's the demonstration part. What I have here is a $5 bill or 38 cents American. So what I'm going to do now, watch this when I put it on the right pipe. See this?
Yep.
Nice
Pushes
flutter
it out.
right? Just nice.
Yep.
Okay, now watch this when I put it on this pipe. I'll
So
go
you're
back
getting a
to
lot
this
more left.
pipe.
Yeah, out of the left than the right.
See, on the left pipe, which is the front bank. Like if I wanted to, like see how it's sucking that dollar. It's sucking the dollar out of the $5 bill out of my hand. It thinks it's the Canadian Revenue Service. Now I'll turn it off. Close a few doors. So that's the issue. Why is it sucking and puffing? Now, one idea was from a great mind of many, many years ago that on a wind instrument, and it's too bad we didn't have Mr. Bell here, that when you blow and when you stop, which would be the exhaust is actually like coming out then stopping for a nanosecond and then whatever, that there's a moment where there's air rushing back. And we thought, well, maybe that was it. So, and it was related to the length of the exhaust. So, we took a piece of pipe from the patio furniture. Unfortunately, now I got to cut the legs off the table. And we stuck that on here. Okay, we stuck it on.
Yeah.
And then we did the same test here and here, same results. The right pipe, which is the back 3 cylinders, nice putter, mutter. The left pipe, which is the front 3 cylinders, you could hear it and see it with the $5 bill, sucking and whatever. So I will now, what I'll do is I'm going to take this off. I'll take the phone right off and then I'll go to the,
So, Dave, as you're doing all that, have you driven the car as well, or has it just been you've been running it in the garage since you got it back together?
Just in the garage because we got a foot of snow.
I understand. Okay. Yep.
So anybody care to comment what the hang is going on? And if anybody has a BJ8, take a bill and when it's idling nicely, put it behind one pipe and put it behind the other and tell me if they're different. Now, this car, by the way, I drove it at 75 miles an hour down to Maine this fall. It ran like a dream. I mean, it's not as if I was chasing a trouble. The trouble was, foolishly, I walked behind it and stuck my hand at the pipes and said, why are they different? Any ideas, guys?
Any thoughts why Dave's got these differences in terms of the left bank and the right bank on his exhaust on the BJ8?
Could it be the exhaust itself? The pipes?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't know that. Now he does have that later exhaust that comes across, so it's got the mufflers plus that resonator coming across the back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they-
my BJ8 straight pipes. I'll try mine tomorrow, but mine's straight pipes. I've got an earlier BJ8.
Mhm.
Bob Abbott or Bob Ewell, any thoughts on your end?
Well,
No, Peter, don't.
Okay.
my thoughts would have been that it was either a valve or a
Okay.
head gasket problem. But you seem to have addressed all that.
When I took the head off, the existing gasket showed no areas where there was anything, you know, like a blown head gasket or anything like that. I bought the super duper one from the UK, the good head gasket, and that's what's on it now, torqued to 78 pounds, give or take. So, and the condition is the exact same. I have a video from last fall, and it's a mirror image of this sucking, puffing and sucking back. And on the other side, flawless.
But the car was running fine. The only issue is you walked behind the car and you saw the difference between the two exhaust pipes.
Should have kept my hands in my pockets. You're right.
If it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Exactly.
Dave, an easy thing to check maybe is, since I have a BJ8 also, but unfortunately I can't start it right now. The carbs are off it. But you could pull those two resonators off. They come off pretty easily, and see if that same phenomenon exists at the at what's left of the exhaust system, and see if maybe there's something inside those resonators that has come loose or packing or something that's just caused that phenomena. I mean, that's a quick, easy check to see if it exists further up the pipe.
You're like a loose baffle, Tom, you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what's inside those, if it's stock or not, but I have some custom ones on mine. But I mean, I'm baffled, as apparently everyone else is, but I would just try it one notch further up the pipe, since those two resonators come off so easily on a BJ8. They're so easily accessible.
And this
You've
is
only
easy to
you've
hear
only
because
run
I-
this test at idle, right? You've never increased the RPM and then tested?
I could do that. Yes, I could do that if I had, actually, if I pulled the choke out a bit, that would give me more RPM. Or are you thinking maybe higher than that?
Well, if you pull the choke out, wouldn't that change the mixture a little bit and possibly affect the sound? That's just a guess on my part. But if you
Want me to
could,
try it?
either that or just have somebody increase the accelerator a little bit or the linkage, just to see if you get the same effect.
And higher RPM, you're saying,
Yeah.
Dave.
Yep. Do you want me, do you want to give it a try now, Pete, or wait till next time?
Yeah, why don't we wait till next time? Or maybe we'll see how we go with the rest of the questions tonight and see if we have time to come back to it, Dave.
Sure, because my associate was doing something like dishes or something, and I'm not sure if she wants to come out now that the garage has dropped down to 68.
Well, that's true. She helped you out already. Go ahead, please.
Dave, I have a couple thoughts. I wonder if you've taken the spark plugs out and take a look at them
Oh, I
to
have.
see that they're all firing. And also the BJ8, I had trouble with my throttle shaft bushings, and one was leaking air that was causing a misfire.
Yeah. What I did was I, of course, pulled the plugs when I had to get the head done, cleaned them all
Yeah.
off, put them back in. And then when I did my compression test, I pulled them again and they were all exactly as they should. There wasn't like one wet or whatever. And the way it's idling and everything, it's definitely running on all 6 cylinders, nice and smooth. I even when I put the carburetors, I had them on the bench course, and I made sure everything was set up exactly like, you know how you make your jet, yeah, you know how you make your jet flush with the deck, we'll call it. I even used a micrometer there to make sure it was exactly at 0.000, whatever the one was, it matched. And then I turned the screws equally, saw that the up and down was exactly, going the right way. I even, once I put them on and I had it running, I even took a little squirt of quick start around those areas they were airs prone to leak, and I just give it, and there was nothing. It didn't increase the RPM. It didn't show that mixture had done anything to the combustion.
Okay.
Dave, I have one thing to mention to y'all. I don't know how it's set up. 6 cylinders into one manifold with one pipe that goes to that resonator?
No.
If so,
It's
there's
two.
two separate pipes.
Buzz?
There's something, with the LSs and in the muscle car stuff where it's a scavenging, and you'll cross the two pipes.
Right.
You'll exit or link it between one pipe between the two. And that does something with what you're talking, the back and forth at low idle. And it's called exhaust scavenging, and it gives more power down low. And it's expanding on what you said, Tom. It's if you could, I'll say, throw a different exhaust at it, I'll call, resonator. That's how you'd be your ultimate. If you had another one around, test that out. But first, get a high idle, get up to $3,000, see what that thing's doing. It might be totally different scenario. They might be both blowing out like,
Right.
Moby Dick or something at $3,000.
So you're right about 850, Dave. When you were testing that, it was under 1,000 RPMs?
Oh yeah, probably closer to 650.
Okay. Yep.
What Scott is talking about, I think, is like an X pipe or an H pipe on a typical V8 installation.
It would apply to any, of our engines.
Yeah.
And so for some reason that scavenges exhaust fumes better and gets them out better at the low end, more torque.
Yeah.
And
But
does
in the
back and
BJ
forth.
in the
The reason-
BJ8, those two separate exhaust systems don't cross. They don't have an X or an H pipe anywhere. They're two completely separate pipes
Separate banks.
from piston.
Yeah.
And normally it would
piston to
too on
tip.
any, of our 70s or 60s, muscle cars. They would have had just that straight exhaust too if it was a dual exhaust. It's a more modern thing. This whole scavenge the exhaust air thing.
Yeah, I mean my classic V8s have X pipes or H pipes.
Maybe it could apply to the only reason I mentioned those, the back and forth you mentioned, Dave. That's got to do with that X pipe thing.
Yeah.
Where it's pulsing at low. Pop, pop, pop.
But you're right with a BJ8, your exhaust is a complete 3 and 3, 3 exhausts front, 3 exhausts back. The intakes, I think they are shared. Are they not across all 6? Or are they actually split as well? But I think the intakes are shared, but the exhausts definitely are A and B.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if it was in that one resonator with 2 outs. If that's the case, it's definitely inside the resonator. Try a different one. If all the other easier things don't work out.
No, it's 2 complete separate systems.
Yeah, that's a thought.
If I was to disconnect it from the car, you would see that there is 2 complete everything. Mufflers, 2. Tailpipes, 2. Resonators,
When we
2.
start our cars and they might, when they're idling, smoke from one side and not the other, but it goes away. I heard that with the X pipe, that's going to eliminate that completely, kind of, because it's the same thing. Everything's fine with the engine. It will just do that because of this exhaust scavenging. I just want to mention, I'll throw that out.
If the resonators are the same, can you not swap them and see if the I don't know if they are. Can you not swap them and see if the symptom goes with the resonator or with the muffler? And 2, you've got one carburetor running the forward 3 and the other carburetor running the aft 3. If it's on half the forward or the aft bank, is it something with carburation? Wild guess.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking if you can swap resonators side to side, see if the problem follows.
Well, I'll pull the resonator right off actually and try it without it and see.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
suggesting earlier. Just pull it off
Yeah.
and see if it happens further up.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, good. Well, thanks, Dave, for the demonstration on that and the update as it relates to that. So at least you got a valve job out of it.
Valve job, and you would not believe, I think it was Mike Salter said, when I said such fun, he said, no, the fun's going to be when you're putting the whole thing back together. I got to tell you, these fat little short fingers don't fit to put a bloody washer and a fucking brass nut on the back side of that intake. I have never experienced anything like it. Enough that Pam came out after hours and said, "What are you screaming?" and that. So I quickly showed it, and she said, "Give me that thing." So she takes the washer, and if anybody, you've met Pam, I mean, a force to be reckoned. Yeah, at 114 pounds and 5'3", and she just reaches in, goes in, and goes, "Now, give me the nut." I hand her the nut. She goes, "Oh, pretty color." Then she reaches in, and I go, dung, 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 dung. She goes, "Now what do you want done?" I couldn't believe it. It cost me $250 in Newborough for new shoes.
Well, you have her take the resonator off tomorrow.
I will.
So, hey, Judd Duran, good to see you. Thanks for joining, Joe. So Judd's got a BJ8. Now the motor you're having this problem with this knock, Judd. Is this a 1275? You said?
Yeah, it's a 1275. It's
Yep.
Sorry, lowly Spridget compared to you big Healy guys.
No, there's lots of Sprite guys on here, so no problem with that. So,
Oh.
but so you're getting a knock with this motor, Judd?
Yeah, so I was down at your show 2 years ago and got some great advice because there was a bit of a knock. It says, pull the ignition wire off of one plug at a time and see if the knock goes away. I'm like, hadn't heard of that. Been doing British cars for 30 years. Anyway, never heard of that. So I did that. And lo and behold, the knock went away on number 3. I mean, just silence. Everything was fine. So the general consensus was I wouldn't be driving that, and you need to pull the engine and have a look. So foolishly, I said, well, I'm really busy. I'm just going to drop a spare engine off at R&L, and we'll just start the process of getting the spare engine done. And then finally in the winter, I pulled the engine out, and I was like, well, let me just see how bad all this is, and see the damage. And I sent you one photo, which maybe you're going to share. I don't know, but I took one photo, and there's just a little bit of the zinc being worn off and a little bit of the copper in maybe 15% of the shell. And I'm looking at that going, I can't believe that's considered wear and would make that clanking or contribute to that clanking noise.
So you're still getting the knock regardless of in that third cylinder.
I've swapped engines, and to some extent, there's no problem to solve other than, I guess there's lessons learned for other folks that might be don't do what I did. If it turns out all I need to do is to drop the pan, throw in 2 new shells, and put her back together, that's a far sight less than having another engine, machined up.
That's true.
I don't know if I'd probably stumble around to try to find the photo. Not too much, unless you had it.
Yeah, I unfortunately I'm on a my Outlook is not working right now, so I'm having to go directly to Xfinity, so I wasn't able to download the picture, Judd.
So anyway, we've all seen Warren. Maybe 10% of the area of the shell has a little bit of copper showing. The crankshaft, beautiful, smooth. You can't find anything with your fingernail. So anyway, just wondering if anyone has any comments about what a worn shell looks like. Or, I mean, is it possible it's all in the wrist pin?
So how bad was the knocking, Judd?
Bad enough so that you guys all said I would limp that home to New Hampshire and not drive it for the rest of the season.
Okay.
mean-
Yeah, I remember you saw you down in Bristol 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So it had always been making a little bit of knocking, but whenever I was in the low revs, put it into first and pull away,
Yep.
knock, 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 knock. And then as soon as you're up to RPMs, you couldn't hear it. No, I suspect you just couldn't hear it because the engine was making other noises. But when it's quiet and down there at the 800 RPM and you're pulling away in first, it clanks pretty good. So, I mean, it was a question. It's not a crisis. I found a parts engine, put that parts engine in. Everything is running. All I can say is getting those engines primed is a whole nother tech discussion with oil to get oil pressure primed. So
in fact, you have 3 different motors. So you
I
had one
do.
that you sent off to the machine shop. You got another one you had a spare, and so that's what's in the car right now is the spare.
I found a $500 parts car and went down and grabbed it and put the engine in my car.
Okay,
And
and
got
that
lucky.
one's not knocking.
That one's not knocking.
Oh, good. Okay,
It's a beautiful thing.
That's true.
We won't. Yeah, it's not beautiful for the checkbook, but it's a beautiful thing. So
Well, that's a different discussion.
we don't drive these cars because we're trying to preserve our checkbook. So
That's definitely true. So
anyway,
do
it's just
do other folks have any
1275
questions this
pattern.
evening?
Say again.
No, I was just asking if other folks had any particular questions. Those are the 2 that I'd received in advance.
Well,
Quick input on
if I
that.
can jump in
Or- Sorry,
on
guys.
that,
Go ahead, Bob.
on that motor, if you want to just reassure yourself, if the bearing surface on the crank is perfectly smooth, you could put a plastic gauge on it and check the clearance that way, and then you could eliminate the big end bearing if it was within tolerance, and then I'd be looking at the wrist pin.
So that'd be a good education just to do a plastic gauge, see what I get, and if it's oversized, then I know that was probably the noise.
Those
Okay.
those crank bearings, if they're scored at all, they can make a racket. And then all the way on that wrist pin, I think one wrist pin with that, the way it can clank and clack. That's what I was thinking too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think
Thanks,
you could
Scott.
plastic gauge the journal or the con rods on either side as well, and compare them to the one that you think has got a gap.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking of busting off the other caps.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you start taking the engine apart. Since the car, I've got a good engine that's running. I didn't want to get the other one too far apart, but yeah, let me a buddy that has some plastic gauge. We'll do that up and get educated, and I'll share the results.
Great. Thanks,
It
Judd.
sounded like it was a long story, but how is it? How did you approach getting the engine primed with oil pressure?
All right. So rear engines.
And I'm sorry to drag this on or anything.
No, I mean the
Go
engine
ahead.
is in. Yeah, I'm starting it up. And no, just on the starter, running on the starter long, nothing on the oil pressure. So now I'm, pretty exasperated, unknown engine, a lot of effort getting engines in and out. Plus it's got a Datsun transmission on it, making it even more fun to squeeze it in. And so Google. And finally the tip is this: you put the rear of the car up so you got the rear wheels off the ground. You put an oil fill pipe into the oil pressure
Wow.
relief
Yeah,
valve.
it's small. Yeah.
So you've got there, and then you turn the wheels in reverse when you're in first gear. And that puts the engine in reverse. and that
Over
sucks
there.
the oil in through the. It drew
Pressure.
the oil in through the funnel and through that pressure.
Oh, wow. With the 16th.
Put-
Neat.
put it back
Reverse.
I mean,
Wow.
boy, I'll tell you, it was, you know,
So
a
did that
buddy
solve
had,
did that solve the problem, Judd?
it gave me oil pressure. Yep.
Wow.
But there was a
That's
lot
great to
of,
know.
you know, a buddy of mine, two of us were working on it, and I'm like, dude, are you sure you put the oil pickup on? You know, because we're all working various parts and pieces of the project. And he came over Monday morning. He says, I can't sleep. Pop it off. I'm dropping the pan. I'm going to have a look. And, you know, everything was fine. You know, 4.5 quarts of brand new oil everywhere. It's great. Anyway, yes, that was the tip. I mean, there's a lot of yakking on forums about what the solve was, but for me, that was the solve. Rear wheels up, turn them
Wow.
while you're in first, and the pressure valve off, and a tube of oil going in. It was a case of getting it primed. Now,
Yeah.
you know, if somebody says, "Oh, here's a better way to prime," I'd never had that before.
Do you have any idea how long that used motor sat?
No idea. I
Right.
mean, I'm going to
Yeah,
give her
no.
5+ years, many years.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've had motors rebuilt. I've never had to prime them like that. I've had no problem. I've had oil pressure right away, both on 6 cylinders and 4 cylinders. So I've not experienced what you went through there, Judd.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting there going, well, maybe I'm just being too impatient. Run it longer.
Well,
And
no.
I ran it, and I'm like, no, that didn't work. So, and amazingly, when I opened the engine, it had to have been rebuilt. It was all painted inside like an MGB block. It was beautiful inside.
Well,
So
okay.
anyway, yep. So
Well,
anyway,
thanks
the
for
good story
sharing
is
that,
it
Judd.
runs. She runs.
Well, we appreciate that. Are there other questions tonight?
I have a quick question.
Hey, Penny.
Hey, since I bought my BT7, the temperature gauge has never read accurately, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it and put a replacement gauge that I've had rebuilt in it. I've been hitting the sensor with penetrant, and I've made the little tool using a socket to remove it. My big question is, how much coolant do I have to drain when I try to remove that sensor? And then once I replace it, I've seen various people on the forums say to use Permatex #2 or pipe dope. Do I need to use anything to replace it?
Good question, Penny. Well, that's great. You've been able to build that using that socket and cut it out there to build it. That's great. So have you been able to remove it?
Not yet. It's been a
Okay.
little cold, so I'm waiting. It's supposed to be a little
Gotcha.
warmer this week, and I wasn't sure how much coolant to drain out, and I was a little worried about draining all the
Well,
coolant.
the coolant's gonna have to get below there where the pipe is. So you probably need to be down at least a third, I would think.
Okay.
Bob Euler, Bob Abbott, any recommendations on your end? How much coolant Penny needs to drain out?
I would guess if you could drain a quart or so out of your radiator, it'll lower the level in the coolant system down below the temperature sender.
Okay, that's not much at all. Okay.
Well, if you start to undo it and it comes dribbling out, then drain a little more.
Okay. And once I successfully get it out, do I have to use any sealant on it on the new one when I reinstall it?
I've used Teflon
We never
tape.
do. It's a tapered thread, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And would you use Teflon tape or anything like that, Bob, or not necessary?
You could certainly use that. It's not going to harm anything, but tapered thread should seal up without any additional goop on them.
Yeah,
Okay.
we never put anything on them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah,
if you
that's good
did-
to know.
If you did put some Teflon tape, it'll make it easier to come out next time.
Okay. I'm
If there-
hoping not to have to take it out again.
Yeah, well, we all hope that.
So that's always the hope.
Yeah.
And then getting that through the firewalls can be a challenge too. I mean,
Yeah, I've looked at that. That is, at least with the BT7, I don't have the dash so much to,
that's right.
to deal
Yep.
with.
Better than those BJ8s. Well, that's
You've
good.
also got the oil pipe that you need to deal with too for the oil pressure.
Right, I've got
That's
a
a
new leather
combination
washer.
gauge.
I've got a new leather washer for that.
Is
Right?
this a mercury capillary type? I'm sorry, I'm a Major K, Sprite guy.
It's got ether in it.
I guess I just, the handling and bending and
Yeah,
that you treat those things like
yeah,
fine china. I just learn from my mistake.
yeah. Be gentle with it. Don't put a kink in it or you're done.
That's what I figured.
Okay. Thanks, Benny, for the question.
Thank you all.
Yep, you're welcome. Other questions tonight?
Yeah. I have a
Hey,
question.
Tom?
I have a DJ and packing.
Tom, you've got two different devices. I'm going to shut one device down. You got two devices open. Okay, go ahead. That's why you had all the background noise.
Oh, okay.
That's better.
I had one of my Austin Healy friends with me, and when we took the wheel out, he said that I was missing cone spacer on each side, and I haven't had them in there for years and years and years, and I've had no issues with them. Do you need them or?
And Tom, there's some background noise at your place. Can you repeat your question again? I didn't understand what the question was.
Okay, I was repacking my front wheel bearing.
Got it. Okay, I'm sorry.
So when I took them apart, there was no cone spacer in there, and on each side. So I was just wondering, do you need the cone spacer?
In which model Healy do you have, Tom?
BJ8.
Okay, great. Anyone have recommendations for Tom on, go ahead, Dave.
I got into that, several meetings back, maybe last year. So what I did is I was redoing my front bearings and owning a 28 Model A. I mean, I know all about packing bearings and all that and grease up to here. And so anyways, I pulled them all up and I see these, I call them the cone of silence from Get Smart. These cones and a whole bunch of little shims fall out and they're all over the workbench. So I said, well, why do I need these? I mean, I got a race, I got a bearing, I have a race and a bearing, I have a nut, just put everything together. Well, that's what I asked at this meeting. And Mike and several others said, ho, ho, ho. No, you do need the cone of silence. You need that cone and you do need the shims. And once I got the concept upstairs correctly, there's no question about it. When you normally torque a wheel nut on and you're bringing it down and you're spinning it, you're actually pressing the bearing surface into the receiver, we'll call it, the inner race. And of course, there's an inner and an outer race on any car, right? So the cone acts almost figuratively as an extension of the inner race to the outer race. It actually makes it one. So when you're doing it, you put the whole thing together, you crank her down, you know where the key would go into the little, would you put your key in? And then you actually feel and you turn it and you go, no, that's too loose. Because in fact, the shims are keeping them out from the surface. So you take a couple of shims out, you put her back in. Yeah, the cone, based on what I was told at this meeting a year ago, and based on what I understand today, no question, you do need that cone. It strengthens that axle, and it's a thing that must be done.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
It took him a
Tom,
while,
you said
but
when
Dave
you took it
finally
apart-
got to the point. The cones in there will strengthen the axle and make, because the stub axles on those cars are kind of weak. And that cone will help to strengthen it and make them stronger and last longer.
Thank you.
So Tom, you were saying yours didn't have them originally when you took it apart?
No,
huh?
it's possible somewhere along the line that I had taken them out, because I looked around in my parts and I found them. And I've had this car since '69.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
I put a lot of miles on the car, so without the cones in it.
And did I hear
It
that
survived.
and the shims allow you to ensure that the castle nut and the cotter pin is the right? Is that what I was interpreting?
What was that again?
Isn't it? Dave, you're shaking your head no. But it does. It doesn't in terms of make sure you got the proper tension.
Right. The
Apparently I did, because I had no issues with it. It did not have any play in it.
You won't. However, there is possibility, the problem of breaking the shaft off, because when the cone is in and the proper amount of shims are in, visualize that the inner bearing and the outer bearing become one. And I mean, they are one, because you're putting that nut on there and there's nothing between. I mean, they're riding nicely on their races, but this is positioning them to be one.
As high as CEO.
I can't think of a better way. Bob, how do you best describe it?
Well, it's JetBlue. It is JetBlue. Also for 6. He spent 12 years at IBM and a little less time, 6 months at Compaq.
Dave Roberts, I'm putting you on mute.
Right. Chris Cook. Yes. Let's go out tonight before. This type of drama is big on Broadway.
Dave Roberts, put you on mute. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Were you asking Bob Ewell the question? Bob, did you hear Dave's question?
Yeah, the cone is essential in there between the bearings and correctly shimmed. And as he says, it makes the two bearings act as one. And in effect, it's thickening the shaft, so it's much stronger.
And the shims adjust the end play so that your wheel doesn't wobble a little bit. And the shims have to be in there.
Yeah, you want the wheel to free play or free roll easily when the shims are in. And I'm just looking at them now, and the shims are 3 thou, 5 thou, 10 thou, so they're pretty thin.
Okay. Tom, any other questions?
Peter.
Yeah. Hey, Ken.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did this procedure on my car a couple of years ago, and the toughest part is getting the right combination of shims so that you get the proper torque. And I believe it was somewhere between 60 and 70 foot-pounds on the nut, but still make it so the cotter key lines up and there's no play in the wheel. But like I said, the challenge is getting the right combination of shims.
Right.
My right-hand side front wheel, I think it took me about 25 or 30 tries to get it right. The driver's side, it only took me a couple tries, but that's the challenge.
Yeah, so you need lots of extra shims.
Yeah, you got to get the right combination to make everything come together so you got the right torque on the nut, the cotter key lines up, and there's no play in the wheel, but yet the wheel will still spin without, dragging. Right. It's some fine tuning to get there, and it's out of all the things I've done on my car, it was probably one of the most stressful and tedious operations.
Yeah, well, once you get it right, it works out well.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Ken. Other questions folks have?
I'd like to ask a question about overdrive.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, how you doing?
John, sorry.
Yeah. anyway, I was in a number of discussions, and Mike Salter, I don't see him here tonight.
He's on
And
vacation.
okay, well, my overdrive, I rebuilt the whole thing. It works great. I've never had any slippage with it. When I engage it, it takes about 2 to 3 seconds to engage. Okay. And the consensus I heard is there's something wrong with it. It should kick in like almost instantly. And, in my view, it works good. I drained the oil out of it here a few weeks ago to see if there was any debris and come out crystal clear. There's about 10,000 miles on it since the rebuild, and there's no debris in it. So I'm wondering if the little hydraulic pump in there is just worn out. That's something that can be replaced. It's just up inside the big brass filter housing on the bottom. And there's a couple bolts there that you could pull it down with. And I'm just wondering if it's possible the little piston pump that generates the pressure that charges the accumulator and maintains about 450 psi pressure in there all the time. If it's just worn and tired, and it's time to put a new one in, and now it's relatively, I think it's relatively easy to do in the car without pulling it out. And now that the car's laid up for the winter, if it's a good opportunity to do it. But I just wonder if anybody else has a similar symptom with their overdrives. Again, mine works great. On the highway, when I lean on her and up a hill, there's not any slippage. So I know the pressure is up and it's holding the cone clutch engaged while it's functioning. And when after I rebuilt the overdrive and I drove it up with an electric motor, I was getting the spec around, I think it was about 450 psi, and it was up and it was holding it, working just fine. It just takes a second longer to get there, and frankly, I drove a TR3 with a similar overdrive. And when I flicked the switch, it was just like hitting it with a hammer. And I don't like that. I mean, that's a big impact. And it's just, to me, it's sort of abusing the thing. And anyway, I'm just throwing that out there to see if anybody else has any other thoughts.
Well, John, I've got a similar situation with my BJ8. I call my overdrive lazy. It doesn't go in as precisely. My 100 goes in very precisely and very promptly. I guess I'm experiencing the same thing that you are. I've had the car for 15 years now, and the overdrive's operated the same way all the time. And it's just what I call it lazy. So, but any of the experts, Bob Yule or Bob Abbott, any recommendations for John?
If you've got, and check the pressure when you put it all back together, and we're up around 460 pounds of pressure at the little hydraulic where the lifting pin is. Sounds like it's not your pump, because it wouldn't pump up to that kind of pressure if your pump or the rings in your pump were bad. We all experience, or I certainly experienced the same thing that you and Peter talking about in various cars. I'm not exactly sure why it does that. So I guess I don't have an answer, but I don't think it's anything to be terribly worried about, because it happens in a lot of cars.
Was it any different before you rebuilt it?
I wouldn't know. I bought the car as a rusted out Hulk.
Got it.
And
Okay.
when I pulled the overdrive apart, I had 1/4 of an inch of end play on the main shaft, and I had shattered thrust bearings throughout the planetary gears. So it was a mess inside, and there was pieces down in the oil sump, and the sump was just black tar full of goo. So I didn't know anything about this thing. So when it came time to, I went online, read up all about it, and went online, but when it came time to replacing the thrust bearings that were made out of oilite bronze, I've never been a big fan of oilite bronze because it's can't handle impact very well. They'll crack and shatter. So I got some Type 660 bronze and machined my own. And they're in there. It's a modern thrust bearing material, and they're in there bathed in oil all the time. And so I thought I'd give it a go with that. And it'll take more abuse. But anyway, so my end float was 1/4 of an inch, and it should have been 14 thou. And so it was just a big mess in there. So no, I didn't know how it behaved before, but I suspect
Okay.
it wasn't very well.
So another thought is the I can't remember the name of it now, but sits on the side, the electromagnet that lifts up the piston that engages
The
it.
solenoid?
Yeah, solenoid. Thank you. Is it possible that that could be weak and just not engaging fast enough?
Well, that's a thought too. You know, I never thought about that, but you can hear a click. You know, it sounds pretty positive, and I've added its own ground to it, so it seems to be working as it should. But you know, that's a good thought. I may take a look at that. But
I mean, there's a fairly simple replacement. You don't have to take anything apart except for getting your transmission tunnel off, which is a pain.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's less than $100 experiment.
Yeah, that's true. I had to pull that all apart and clean it up because it was gummed up too.
Yeah.
No, that's a good thought. Yeah, I might take a look at that.
Well, the other thing that could be a problem is the spring in the accumulator. If it's worn or compressed, then it won't have the necessary pressure on it.
Well, like I said, I was getting the 450 pounds, and that was to spec. You know.
Yeah, but that's holding the spring. If the spring is weak or short, it won't push the accumulator piston in fast enough.
Okay. Okay. Good thought.
I had a similar problem. Mine was slow to shift up, and I had changed the solenoid. So I went and I did a minor adjustment to the solenoid, and then it shifted more immediately after that.
Okay. Well, I've adopted the method of shifting that Mike Salter recommended, and that's where I treat it like a gear shift, push in the clutch.
Yeah.
I wait until I sort of crest over a hill, and then there's no load on the engine, and I push in the clutch. I engage the overdrive. I wait my 2 to 3 seconds and let the clutch out. And you know, he says that that's quite gentle, more gentle on the overdrive.
Right. So, Steve, how did you do that adjustment on yours?
Well, originally I had adjusted it with a drill bit or something. They tell you how to get it at the proper level. But like I said, after I put it together and drove it, it was shifting a little slow. It would go down. It seemed to go down fine, but again, I use the clutch when I go down. But when I'm shifting up, I don't use the clutch.
Yeah, same.
And it seemed to have a little hesitation before it would shift. So I went in and adjusted the solenoid just a little bit. And ever since then, I haven't had a problem.
Okay. All right. That's good thought. All right.
Great.
Yeah, since we're talking overdrives, I noticed that later in the year, the summer, once I got into September and the weather got a little cooler, that when I'd start out, the overdrive wouldn't work at all until I got everything warmed up for about maybe 4 or 5 miles. Then it was fine. I don't know if I'm heading into some sort of problem that I can avoid, that it's going to get worse, or what's up with that?
Wow. So it didn't happen earlier in the season, but once it
fine all
cooled down,
summer, and then and maybe it was just coincidental that temperature has nothing to do with it, but it did seem once the car warmed up and I went about 4 or 5 miles, I'd try it again. Yeah, no problem. But if I started right out, nope, just like it didn't work.
Maybe the oil was thinning out when it warmed up a bit. But you know, what oil are you running at?
Oh God, whatever spec, I can't remember what the 2050 is it? The Castrol?
Yeah, 2050.
Yeah, and it's all and that's all been changed and up to level. Everything's fine.
But that 2050, that's the engine, not the overdrive?
No,
Or is that-
Same.
Okay.
You don't need ZDDP in the overdrive.
Right.
But I think the manual says straight 30 weight.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah.
For the transmissions.
Yeah.
Is it?
But a lot of people say they're using the exact same 2050 that they do in their engines, they do in the transmissions. We've discussed that on this call before.
Yeah. I'd have to check to see what I put in, and I can't remember. That was a couple of years ago.
I remember Mike Salter saying that he wrote the company, Norman Lecoq, and they said, the bottom line was they said you can put whatever oil you want in it.
Right. Okay. Other questions tonight?
I got on this discussion, my BJ8, I shifted into overdrive and it clunks in fast and hard. It makes it's really kind of funk. And so I've just gone to using my clutch when I do it. It makes it smooth. When I downshift, if I've got the engine pulling, I can flip it into a lower range and it just slips in fine and smooth. But going up with it, it makes it clunk hard. So I just use the clutch. Is there anything comment about whether that indicates anything or not?
Well, I use the clutch as well, Alden. Just I've heard other people say on this call that it just puts less strain on it. So
my Triumph TR3 is just smooth both ways.
No.
No,
So I guess everyone's a little different.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sure, I got one.
Go ahead, Eric.
Hello. I have an idler here, right here on a 66 BJ8.
Okay.
And it was leaking slightly, so I decided to pull the the oil seal out of it and got the one back. And I don't know if you can see that or not. It's got a metal flange on the outside. I don't know any way of getting a metal seal, oil seal back in there with that metal flange in place. In the end, I decided to just buy a replacement anyways, and the new one comes without that metal flange on there, which I found kind of interesting. And I'm wondering if
So the one in your hand is the replacement, or is that the original?
This is the original.
Okay.
So this is metal right here, and the actual oil seal goes inside that.
Right.
And I decided to scrape that out, and now regret it.
So the reproduction one you're saying does not have the metal collar?
Does not have the metal collar, and the same thing is on the steering box as well. It has the metal collar on the steering box as well.
Does it show that metal collar on the parts list?
Not that I can see.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering if someone machined that and put it in there to help hold the seal in place, like pressed it in there.
So nobody else has seen one with a little metal collar like that.
You usually, like the seals I've seen, they're black. They get a rubber coating all over them.
Yeah.
And they're rubbery.
Yes.
They're seal.
Yeah, that was inside this. I picked it out, and then I got the replacement, and it has the steel core in it, and I was like, that's not going back in there.
Yeah, you're right. So you might be able to get a screwdriver and just pop that out of there.
I've tried. I mean, since this is now the backup, I guess I can try harder.
Yeah. Well, here I'm on the Moss website here now, and I'll see if I can find that part and see what it looks like.
Do you know where you got the part, Eric?
It was Moss, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was Moss.
That's where you're checking, John?
Yeah, I'm going through it here now. Idlers.
Actually, I'm trying to. I was going to swear it was Moss, but now maybe it was ACH.
H spares, you mean, Eric?
Yeah, AH spares. I mean, sorry. Yeah, it was AH spares actually, because I bought it with the better the better non-styrofoam dust filter that goes on it as well.
Yeah, on the Moss website, if you look at it, it's the part number's 520040, and it just looks like a regular seal, and there's no indication of that collar piece being there. So I suspect someone got creative and added it to help it stay there.
Yeah, no, that makes I could see that being the case. Interesting.
We might have had one that was, the inside bore was the correct size, but the outer diameter was a bit small. And rather than go get the right one, well, I'll just make this ring up and put it in.
That's, yeah, cute. Okay, well, that helps me understand why I saw something different when I ordered a new one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you'll find out when you try to put the new seal in, if you pull that collar out of there, and if it drops in, well, maybe someone bored the housing out. Who knows?
Right. Right. Well,
Okay.
at least the new one is on, so that's fine. It's the steering box side of this equation that I'm worried about.
Right.
Which is more work. So, all
Yep.
right, thank you.
You're welcome, Eric.
Yeah.
Other questions tonight?
Hey, an hour-long meeting. We're having a quiet night.
Yeah. Well, let me, I'll just share my screen, just kind of give you an update of what's going on in New England. So those of you, it's our annual general meeting this Saturday at 10 o'clock. It's going to be via Zoom. So those of you who are in New England, please join us for that. Next Tuesday, those who are in Southeastern Mass or Rhode Island, we're having a breakfast meeting at Kelly's in Norton. Bill Erickson's coordinating that. On Saturday, the 24th, there's a Cars and Coffee at Mark LeBlanc's at Body and British Coach Works up in Fitzwilliam, New Hampshire. That's on the 24th. And that's exactly at 9 o'clock. It says 10 here. I'll correct that. It's actually at 9 o'clock. And then we're also having our midwinter valve cover races. They're going to be in my shop in Mansfield, Mass on Valentine's Day. So that's going to be at 11 o'clock. And then we're going to have lunch after that in our next Northeast technical Zoom call, because it's always the second Monday of the month is going to be February 9th. So that will be our next call for this. If there aren't any other questions or comments, I guess we can go watch American football tonight, or if anyone has any last minute questions or comments, feel free to ask.
Pete, I do have a question.
Go ahead, Peter.
I haven't found an answer to this, but when you take your battery out and you charge it, are you better off doing that, like having it on a piece of wood, or you're okay with the, what do they call it? The shut off.
So if you pulled it out of the back of your
Well,
trunk,
if I left
Peter?
it, if I left it in the car, can I just use the shut off round thing and charge it on that, or is there a leakage?
I leave a battery tender on all my batteries in the winter. I leave them in the cars with a battery tender.
Okay.
That's the way I do it. I know a lot of people will remove the battery and have it sitting on a block of wood, as you mentioned. It shouldn't be sitting on concrete. But I find a battery tender works great, and I've been very pleased with that. Some of my cars have generators, and other ones have alternators, and I've never had a problem. The battery. I also do it. I have on my two trailers. I have winches. I have a guy in Scott. Brown's aware of this. I saw Scott yesterday. I dropped off a car to Scott's house yesterday, and we used the electric winch on my trailer to get the car off, no problem. And I had a battery tender on there, so I had a strong battery, and that trailer sits outside. And I have an extension cord running into it all winter long, so it's not a problem.
The question I had on the kill switch was, if you have the kill switch on or off, does it matter?
Well, I turn mine off. I also use a trickle charger as well. I turn mine off just in case there's any stray voltages wandering around the car on you. You know, you just
Okay.
disconnect it, separate it from the car. And my car is in an unheated garage, and you know, we can get down to -10, -15 in there, and I've never had any issues.
Good. So
fact,
heat's not an issue.
I have a garden tractor that I keep out in the shed. Same deal. I have a disconnect switch. I don't even bother doing anything with it. And you know, in the springtime, I get lucky and she fires up.
Wow.
So Peter, just let you know that those cutoff switches, they sometimes can be faulty.
Okay.
They're not the most reliable. So sometimes you might have to bypass them entirely. So if your car will not start, play with that switch because they get they're not the best.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Just on,
thank you.
on Peter's point, there's two types of those cutoff switches for aftermarket. There's the rotary type and then there's the scissor type. I think Peter's correct that this rotary type tends to fail, whereas I've switched all mine to the
Hello?
scissor type. I'm sorry, you're not hearing me?
No,
Hey,
we
this-
heard you. Yeah, someone else.
Hello.
If you're not involved with the call, please put your phone on mute. That'd be great. Tom, we could hear you fine. That was someone else who was speaking.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Yep.
It's a simple point. I was just saying that the scissor type seems to be flawless and the rotary type, as you said, occasionally just seems to fail. You know, they don't work sometimes.
And what is the scissor type? I'm not familiar with that, Tom.
It's like the old-fashioned wall switch that you,
Oh, right.
you just bring a lever down in between in between the two contacts. It's
Okay.
it's so simple, it's flawless. It takes a little. It works the same way as the rotary type.
Gotcha.
Attaching to the battery and so forth. In some installations, I could see where it might create a little bit of a space problem, but I have it on a couple of other cars besides the Healey's, and they work fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
And they just can't fail because they're so simple.
Right.
You know?
I think Mike Salter said that the switches tend to fail. There's a silicon bronze spring in there that holds the contacts in place, and they weaken.
Right.
And
Yes.
you don't maintain the same sort of compression forces in there anymore. And then, of course, it's a poor connection. It starts arcing, gets hot, and eventually fails.
Yeah, that's kind of the scenario. It just one day seems to not make a connection anymore.
Now, you know, those cutoff switches are just with big Healey's. Sprites don't have those. So, but yeah, Ken, were you going to say something?
Yes, two things on the batteries. We have a gentleman in the Vermont Car Club who has several U.S. patents when it concerns electronics and cars. And two things. It's a myth that you're going to discharge the battery putting it on concrete. And
really?
Yep. But the other interesting thing is he has published articles and have found that batteries will discharge on their own via the dirt between the two terminals. So keep the top of the battery clean from dirt. He said that's usually the biggest problem is dirt on the top of the battery between the two terminals.
Wow.
It finds a path through across between the posts.
Right. You're right on. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at all these things we're learning tonight.
Yeah.
Peter,
Go ahead.
it's Ken Fleming. How are you?
Good, Ken.
Since we're talking batteries, is there anyone producing the 6-volt batteries now? The two 6-volt batteries is for
Duracell.
Duracell has it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there a model
It-
number?
I
it's
just seen them the
Scott.
other day.
What's that?
And so that's a 6-volt battery. It's like what would be
Yes,
in
I-
100, or
Yes.
because you don't have a 6-volt battery in your Sprites, do you, Scott?
No, I'd seen him in my friends. He has a 1923 Davidson 3-wheeler, but it has them all linked
Okay.
up. Like it has like
Okay.
4 6-volts or something like that in face. And they were
Wow.
brand new and really neat looking in Duracell.
Do they look? I mean, are they encased in black, or they look? I mean, are they black and gold, or do you know?
It did look just like a 9-volt, like their batteries would look.
Were they
The
black?
joke inside, I thought the bunny was going to jump out. They look just like a big, like a regular house battery, like the marketing on them. But they look beautiful to me.
Deca also makes 6-volt batteries like that.
Who's that, Ken?
Deca.
DEKA.
DEKA. Okay.
I'm on the Moss website, and they have a Lucas 6-volt battery.
Really?
Rubber cased original style with ears. There you go.
Okay. That solves that problem. Thank you.
You know, Ken, what I'm doing in my 100, I'm running 2 12s.
Really?
Yep. Running parallel. That's what when we rebuilt the car in 2007. That's what we put in it.
2 12-volts parallel.
Yep. I can take a picture of it and send it to you, Ken, tomorrow.
That'd be great.
Yep. I have had to replace, because again, we finished that car in 07. And so I've had to replace the batteries once, and just went to local AutoZone to get the batteries, and it was a piece of cake.
All right. Thank you. I'll look for your email.
Okay. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, guys.
Actually, I take that back about the 6-volt batteries. They're not available on the Moss site. They have a listing for them, but they're not available.
They're on back order.
There was somebody else who was making them at one time, but I don't know. I can't remember who it was, and I think they stopped.
Well, yeah. Ken Gibson said Deca makes them.
Yeah, Deca. Okay.
I just go down to my local Riley store here, O'Reilly store, and they have 6-volt batteries I use in an old Chrysler and in a Dodge truck.
Okay. Thanks, Alden.
It should be available most anywhere that sells batteries.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I had a fun question.
Go ahead, Scott.
I noticed regarding the pronunciation of my sprites and midgets, the body style is unitized, but I noticed it's mono, and I'll hack this one up, quo, monoquo. So I'm just throwing that one out there. Maybe it's homework for us all.
Now, Scott, where did you see that?
I've seen it in all my Bentley's books and just in literature.
Okay.
It's mono.
Wow.
Mono QUO something E construction, and we all know it. Unitized, like the Chrysler Airflow, and when I was a kid, we'd call it unibody, unitized construction. Okay. But I think it's more the English term or Britain term.
It's called a monocoque, and
thank you.
Aircraft are built that way. It's essentially stressed skin. So so while
or something,
Yeah, you could build it with bulkheads and all that, and then stringers over it to hold the fabric or body shape. But in this case, it's the actual. It's called stressed skin construction. It's a like a monocoque fuselage. It gives it nothing inside really.
The XKE is a good example of a monocoque construction.
Yeah, and really any
modern car,
any aluminum aircraft would be also.
Like the Spirit of St. Louis.
Yeah. I know.
For that,
Spirit of St. Louis, I think, was steel tube and fabric. Most were at that point, but
it
from
aluminum.
I know part the front was, but the back, I think, a lot of the after landing, a lot of the fabric was torn off by souvenir hunters. The front part forward of the cockpit would have been aluminum. Most of them at that point were built of welded steel tube with so it's essentially a steel tube box, long box, covered with fabric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the Ryan Aircraft Company in California.
Yep.
Wow.
The Ryan NYP. Yeah, they're called the Ryan NYP, New York, Paris.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And after the war, they actually manufactured midget race cars.
Well, what they did is called drop tank racers. There's there's a lot of aluminum drop tanks available, and a lot of time was spent making those aerodynamic because they're hanging onto the wings of other aircraft, and whatever drag you have hurts. And so they spent a lot of time making them aerodynamic. And after the war, they were available for nothing. And saying, "Oh, we'll put an engine in something aerodynamic. Cool. Somebody's done all the work for us, and all we have to do is put an engine in it."
Well, after the war, they actually had a contest with the employees as what to do, to keep business going. And they actually made midget race cars that look like midgets. They were not successful because they made their frames out of aluminum. And if you know how they stress and crack, they were, yeah. And my father and I actually had one and raced it for a couple of years. And,
wow.
And post-war too, there's a lot of very good companies that were very adept at making aluminum things. So hence the Grumman canoes made by Grumman Aircraft.
The Saab automobile in Sweden.
Yeah. Well, that because the Saab symbol is a propeller.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, we used to refer to the Saabs as a stupid airplane always broken, but they're actually yeah, it's probably the 340As and Bs. So
Can I
And
remember
look
your
at the things
dad
you
had
learn on this Northeast Technical Call.
Yeah.
well, look at
Sorry, Chris.
Franklin's were air-cooled, overhead valve, and aluminum blocks right from 1902.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, I remember your dad had a bunch of those midgets, and he also had a Franklin as well, as I recall, a Boattail.
I still have it.
Oh, you do? Wow. That's great.
Yep.
Which one was
it's licensed, registered, in New York State inspected, and on the road.
Sweet.
Yep.
Now, which one of the midgets was the one that had the aluminum frame? Was that the Alexander or the Solar?
Well, the Alexander is still here. That uses a Model B Ford with an overhead valve conversion. The midget had a V860 in it.
Remember, the Alexander had the exhaust on the wrong side.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
I was just checking my dash like that.
There you go. Like that. Jeez.
Yep.
Madness.
Yeah, it's amazing what you're going to learn on these calls, huh?
Yes.
Well, the picture you
That model's
just showed
great.
is actually of a Curtis craft.
Uh-oh.
And
So, well, thank you all for your participation tonight. Again, hope to see you on Saturday's AGM call, and then hopefully be able to join us for our Wing 4 meeting on next Tuesday on the 20th, and hope you get a chance to. I will not be going to the Cars and Coffee up at British Body and Coach Works because I'm going to the Rolex 24 Hours. So Cindy and I are on our way to Daytona to watch the 24-hour race. So we'll not be there this year.
Hey, Peter, I have one last question. I'm sorry, real quick. Is there a listing that you have of the other tech calls that are going on, the new tech calls, like times and numbers? Is there some place where we can find
Yeah,
all of
so
those?
if you here, I'll share on my screen. So if you go to the home page again of whoops, let me go back. Sorry. Let me stop there. So I'm going to go to our. So if you go to the home page on the HCA website, Ken, it's going to where it says the YouTube videos, and
Yes.
there's one there for the Mid-America and Plains. Mid-America is now confirmed, and that's going to be on a recurring monthly basis, and Plains will be done shortly. But we do have the recurring Zoom calls on there, Ken.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for that.
Next
And
meeting.
once the other ones are all finalized, we'll do that as well. I'm sorry. Another question?
Next meeting on the 9th?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Alden.
Okay,
Yep, the second Monday of every month is these Northeast ones.
yep.
So, okay, well, have a good night, and we'll see you guys in a month, if not sooner.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Peter.
Good night.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you.